Hi, and welcome to Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving, a podcast series by Tharaka Foundation focused on youth mental health. Before we begin today's episode, I just wanted to let you all know that all content that is found in our podcast is created for informational purposes only. This content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or therapy. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition, and never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard in this podcast. Thank you so much, and without further ado, let's get started.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving. It's your host, Poonam, here with a very special guest, Vivian Lopes. This is a cancer awareness podcast. Today, we are going to talk about the importance of early breast cancer detection and about lifestyle changes that can help reduce cancer risk, including maintaining a healthy diet, mindfulness, and regular exercise. Welcome, Vivian. I'm looking forward to talking to you. Before I ask you a few questions, please introduce yourself and tell us more about you and what you are doing currently.
Oh, hi, Prana. It's so wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me. First of all, I am based in São Paulo, Brazil. I am a mom. I have a 10-year-old son. I'm married for 15 years now, and I am part of the finance organization within Cisco and for 13 years as of now, and I also became part of the Cancer Support Network recently, which we're going to talk about. So yeah, it's going to be great to be here and have this chat with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vivian, for sharing more details about you. My first question is when and how did you first discover that you had breast cancer?
I heard about the breast cancer. I had my diagnosis in October 2019 during my annual screenings and medical checkups. It came totally as a surprise, which would be for anyone, but for me, since I never had any relatives and family members with breast cancer in my family, and not even with other types of cancer, it usually is cancer is also about genetics, so it can happen to anyone. That's what I felt when I heard about the diagnosis. So once you hear the news, of course, it's very scary, but at the same time, it comes inside of you. It grows this strength that fulfill your body and mind, and you just know that you can fight against it.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Vivian, for sharing that. And I also know, when you never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have, right? We have heard that quote. And as you're saying, definitely, if you don't have anybody in your family, you're caught by a surprise, many, many questions can come into your mind. But knowing everything will be fine, I'm a strong, that attitude definitely helps. So I wanted to ask you next question. Even though it was scary for you and you found the strength within you to deal with it, can you walk us through your emotional and physical journey through diagnosis treatment?
Yes, Punan. So I tried to be as positive as I could. I never thought that it would not work, the treatment would not work, because we caught it early. Uh, I was super healthy, I was young, and the worst part for me was telling my family, like calling my mom after I left the doctor's office. So my experience is that the person that is fighting the disease deals with it better than people around us, the family members, because they are really scared about what's going to happen. However, as I said in your first question, somehow there is this strength that comes into you that you know that you're gonna make it, and you are the only one who can feel that, right? So although your family and your friends, they try to do everything they can to make you feel better, at the same time, I felt sometimes that was too overwhelming for me. So I just wanted to be quiet and with myself and the internal strength that I found that I had. So always exercise, but I tried to exercise more when I found about the disease. Some mindfulness also helped. And I always ate healthy, but during the treatment itself, I started to eat even healthier. And hearing that you have cancer is hard. But today, the doctors and the medicine, they provide us with so many alternatives, and they make you feel very strong about the treatment and that things will go very well. So that's how I went through it and everything that came during the treatment.
Thank you, Vivian, for reinforcing, yeah, no matter what we are experiencing, but taking control of our emotions, managing it well, whether it with quietness or mindfulness or doing exercise, do that, right? As you said, you know the best what is the need of the hour, what does your body needs, what does your soul needs, right? And I like the point, like you were already eating healthy and you said, I'm going to make it even rather healthier. So if we do what's under our control, I and belief system, I'm so inspired with your belief system. You know, detection happened early, medical science is advanced, I am young, I nothing will happen, right? I am safe. So I think that power of belief is also a huge in your story. So I wanted to ask you another question. What was the most difficult part of your cancer journey and how did you cope up with it?
Oh, but now I think that fighting cancer during the pandemic. So since we found out on end of 2019, I had the surgery on October, and I had to do chemo and radiation. So I went through 16 chemo sessions, which were on a bi-weekly basis first, and then on a weekly basis. So when the pandemic started on March 2020, I was in the middle of the chemo session, so I had to go to the hospital every week. And although it felt like, oh my God, I cannot get COVID, how am I going to do it? At the same time, those days, it was always on Fridays. So during those days, going to the hospital, leaving the house, I don't know, putting some clothes, some makeup, it was believe it or not, the highlight of my week at the time because of the entire thing that was going on in the world. Everybody was at home, and at least I could go out, see other people, and you know, when you go to that part of the hospital where they deal with cancer patients, the nurses and the doctors, they are very prepared to deal with that situation. So they brought a little bit of humor when we were talking. So it was going to the hospital on a weekly basis during the pandemic was, believe it or not, the highlight of that time. So although it was difficult, at the same time, it was what made me feel good about that week. So it's weird. I have mixed feelings about that time.
No, I fully get it, Vivian. You might have heard that quote also, when it is raining, let it rain. But at the same time, you learn to dance in that rain because, you can't stop rain. It will rain, but life moves on, continues, right? So I really liked, even though it was the middle of pandemic, the world was closed, but that humor, that support system you had with doctors, that uplifted your spirit, and you saw that positivity, that light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm so glad, things worked out great for you. But I wanted to ask you another question. How did your family and friends support you during your treatment?
Well, my husband, he was amazing. He ensured that I felt well, and uh, that everything in the house was being taken care of, so I could focus on my treatment itself. We told our son right away, Pedro, that's his name. He was 5 at the time. So we told him we never hide anything, and he knew that mom was sick, however, that she would be better. My sister, she was always at home as well. While my husband was driving me to the chemo sessions, she used to stay with my son. So she was this strong wall behind me, and my friends, they were around, like sending messages and calling because we could not see each other, right? And my mom, I know that she was very scared, so she did her best to support me, but at the same time, being a mom, I understand how she felt. So although she wanted to provide me a lot of support, at the same time she needed support as well, right? So it was a two-way uh, relationship. During that time, I had to let her aware that everything was going to be fine, and at the same time she wanted uh, to make me feel uh, she wanted to make me feel strong. So I think that was, as a mom, it was hard to see her that way, you know? You don't want to see a child, it doesn't matter how old your kid is, your son, your daughter, you don't want to see them sick, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, Vivian. And I'm so glad you have a strong support system. Your sister was there for you. Your husband did a wonderful job supporting you, and your mom's love was projected in another way. But as you said, it's never easy on moms when their kids go through a painful situation. But I am so feeling grateful for everybody in your life. So I wanted to ask you, what message do you have for others currently going through this treatment, similar treatment?
Um, First of all, the first thing we want to know once we hear that we have cancer is that we just wanna hide and be by ourselves, which I did quite sometimes. But at the same time, um, I I didn't want people to feel sorry for me, so I didn't uh, hide that I had cancer, like that I was bald or that I lost my hair at the time. Uh, I, I, I mean, people look at you and of course they feel sorry for you, but at the same time you need to show them that you are strong, you can do it, and show yourself as well. So I also use it to think a lot about what I would do once the treatment was over, like planning a trip with my family. And, I also had the pandemic going on, so I had to plan things. Okay, once the pandemic is over, how am I going to celebrate my life? So we did this trip, my husband and my son. We did this trip to Portugal for 2 weeks, which was amazing, where we celebrated that it was over, the three of us. So that was great. And also understand that during the treatment, that's your time, your moment to heal. And that's saying that it all will pass, it is true. It all passes by, and once it's done, you're gonna look back and be proud of you.
Yes, Vivian, I am proud of you. Amazing. Like you were not worried for yourself and you did not want others to worry for you. Rather, you wanted strength from them. And at the same time, you focused on the good times. Hey, this too shall pass and good times are coming. That kept you going. So wonderful to hear that. So I wanted to ask another question. Were there any organizations, groups, or resources that were particularly helpful to you?
Well, at Cisco, where I work at, I mean, there is this group which is called Women of Cisco. So they were truly amazing. They were calling me to ensure that I was okay, I was all right. I also I started to do some work with a psychologist during that time. And once the entire thing was over, uh, I, I, I took part of this amazing organization network that we have within the entity, that within Cisco, the company I work at, which is the Cancer Support Network, to ensure that others will have the same support that I had uh, during this time that I was fighting cancer. So, and just thinking that you're gonna be all right. I mean, that's being positive. I think that's the main resource on your mind that you should have. That I was thinking about it all the time.
Wonderful. So not only you were strong, but you became strength for so many others by leading the cancer support network and the belief, your body has ailment, sickness, but I am safe. I am fine. I will be fine. Wonderful, wonderful. So I wanted to ask you another question. How did your life change after surviving breast cancer?
I stopped worrying about small things, about little stuff that used to bother me during the day, as an example, or I don't know, things that would happen during the week, and even work stuff. But especially from a personal perspective, I mean, I used to get bothered when something was not going all right, and then I was like, okay, why am I going to worry with things that I can fix, that the time will fix as well, right? I also started to enjoy every second that I have, especially with my son. And I also want to be around people who makes me smile, friends that were supportive during that time, and they're still around me. And that is something that I take with me. I want to be around people that make me laugh. So I started thinking life is too short to not laugh and smile at least once a day. So that's what I try to do. I mean, try to be something that changes.
While I'm listening to you, Vivian, I am smiling. Smile is contagious, smile is free. And you look at, childs, how many times they smile 300 times in a day. So I like what you said, at least smile once a day, right? So yeah,
Yes, yes.
wonderful, wonderful. So another question. Do you have any fear of reoccurrence? And do you think about it, or how do you manage if it comes?
Well, I do my annual screenings, and I'm clean. As I said, we caught it very early in early stages. So From the beginning, a doctor said that it would be very hard to come back. Although every time I have to go and do my screening, I always think I have that small fear inside of me until the results come out. I always get like, oh my God, what if? But I don't think that if will happen. Doctors, they make me feel very confident that it was very early and I wouldn't have anything else. At the same time, I think if it happens, I also know that there are a lot of resources within the medicine right now. So I know that I'll have the support and everything will be all right. But the only times that I get really that feeling that I had when I found out comes back is when I have to do my annual screening. So then I feel a little bit scared. But once the results are out, then, and I am sure it's going to be all right. Everything's going to be fine.
Yes, everything is going to be fine, Vivian. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your inspirational story. I'm sure our listeners learned a lot from you today. And five things I really found this quote, and listening to your story, I also wanted to reiterate five things everyone should be grateful for. You're alive, your health, opportunity, the people in your life, and the hard times. Hard times makes you stronger. They make you realize the value of your own health, your community, and you know yes, things will be fine. This too shall pass. So I am so grateful to you, Vivian. I wish you a happy, healthy, and fulfilling journey ahead. Keep helping and inspiring others as you are doing today to our listener. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Puna. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
You are listening to Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving, a podcast series by Tharaka Foundation. As part of our youth series, we will be releasing new episodes every Friday, so make sure to continue to check those out. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and thank you so much for listening.